Hey party people, this is Jeremy from Jambalaya Plays Games, and today I'm here on Board Game Revolution talking about Monumental, which is published by Funforge Games, and it is designed by Matthew Dunstan. And guess what? That name needs to be a little bit more pronounced. Matthew Dunstan is kind of a big deal to me, at least. Becoming one of my favorite designers. He designed Pioneer Days, or co-designed it, I believe, and then he also did Raids, which is a low-key really good game. But today we're here to talk about Monumental, and I just want you to see, like, this game is big, okay? I kind of laid out some of the things that are available, just so you know. I mean, this is just a 2-player setup. Let me bring that over here. I have a 3-player setup map. I have a 4-player setup map here. So yeah, this gets pretty involved and big, but guess what? It's not that hard to play. So we're just going to talk about that and just show you some of the mechanics. I'm not going to go through every single one. I want you to know the heart of a turn, what the markets look like, and how things develop, because this is a civilization game. But it has the deck builder, the familiar deck builder mechanics, and I'll show you how. Just some familiar, okay? Check this out. So on your turn, you're going to have the usage of, let's say, science that develops your knowledge. Okay, over time, as things develop. You're going to have production, which you would treat like your coins in a regular game. And then you have military, which will move things on the map. We'll separate that and talk about it a little bit later. Okay, so on your turn, you're activating one column and one row. So you're used to having these cards in your hand, but this one activates a little different. You got more to look at and more to decide on what you're going to do. I've already kind of seeded this for success, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And all that means is I set it up so I can show you everything. Okay, so we have two military, which I said is equal basically to move one guy. So I can move 3 guys, or I can move 1 person 3 times, that kind of thing. And then I have 3 knowledge, which I'll use as well. And then I have this, I have 1 basic coin. Now I have these gold coins, which you start at with the beginning of the game, where I can use them for any basic resource. I have these production tokens, which are earned from out on the map. And then I also have these culture tokens. And what this culture means is you can develop up to 5 of these. And what they do is they give you bonuses for your city over and over again until the next one comes on top of it. So let me just show you how cards work. And this is generally how they do. You will get an instant effect at the bottom there. So I get 1 basic building, which we'll show you in the market. But then, anytime when I conquer a province, I gain 2 production. And this is important because it's going to teach you how to build your deck. It's going to say, hey, you know, like, this is a war culture, all right? So I have to go out and and attack out here. But yeah, as they go up, you're going to have to pay 1 more token. So I would have to pay 2 to put this on top. And this would be, let's see here, when you conquer a province, gain 1 gold. As you can see, I'm raiding Vikings, okay? And then when I do that, here's the cool part. I get to activate the basic ability of this one too. It covers it up. I don't have that anymore. This is my new power. But now I get to reinforce a card, which means I can just turn this back over at the end of the round and keep it out there, because everything gets discarded. And yeah, and there we go. And then I also get 1 basic building again. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Let's spend some money, because I only really have 1 production, but I kept these and I have some money. So I'm going to have some money in my hand. Let's go over here to the market. Now, basically, it starts with these basic buildings. So these basic buildings are kind of like a lot of games where hey, I get 2 extra, I get 2 extra, I get 2 extra of this, this, and this. The cost is at the bottom, as you can see here. It costs 3 production. So I would pay 3 production out of my hand, let's say like this one right here, to gain that card, okay? But I want some more juicy cards, so let's go ahead and see what I can get here. All right, so what happens is this game is played over 3 ages, and I just kind of have these cards down here. They're played over 3 ages. The cards come out as you buy and whatnot. But you're going to buy them and develop your deck. I mean, honestly, some of these cards really just boost the actions that you have. You know, they'll trade cards. They'll say, hey, go get this card if you do this. You can discard a card so you can start culling your deck. It's called archiving. But those things develop and they get real juicy as the round goes on. But you also have these wonder cards, and I'm going to talk about those in a little detail, because this is where the real juicy part comes in. So these wonders, you're going to put them out in your provinces as you game them, but what they do is they have an instant effect. So this is 2 science, okay? So, I mean, right away, you start triggering these things, you're going to have a really beefy deck. But you have to pay 3 production to get them over in your tableau area. I have one right now. It's called Stonehenge over there. We'll get to what happens when you do that. And then when you do this for the second time, this card becomes part of your deck. And anything that becomes part of your deck goes on top of your deck. So buying is all about timing, okay? As I buy cards and they go on my top of my deck, I know what's coming out next turn. So that is awesome. Now, as we go through the ages, just to show you what goes on, there's going to be, the initial stuff like the pyramids. Of course, this would be in age 1. It's a long time ago. All right, and they're going to have different benefits. Irrigation is something you discover way back when. The wheel, we discovered the wheel. Now, age 2, we're getting closer. Taj Mahal, Machu Picchu, the Himeji Castle. We also discovered anthropology. Now we get even closer. Things that you recognize. The Christoph Renator, Statue of Liberty, the Kremlin, and then industrialization, fertilizer. Those are types of things that we all recognize. They go in our deck. Now, meanwhile, we're talking. This is a knowledge card. And knowledge cards trigger a really cool idea here. So when my turn is done, I'm going to take these cards out and replace them with new ones. When I do, let's say I deal out a knowledge card. The knowledge card comes out, and if it's just a knowledge card like that, a card gets dealt on top of it like this, and I gain both benefits. That's pretty sweet, huh? That's pretty sweet. Okay, so let me just go ahead and buy a card or two so you can see how this works. I don't want to. As you can see, I'm just cheating and trying to show you what's up here. I'm going to basically buy, I got 3 here, I got 3 production. I'm going to go ahead and buy more production. Actually, I'm going to buy more war because, more of this military because it's going to help me. I'm kind of a military group here. And then I'm going to spend, let's say 3 more, 3. I have 3 here. I like this one here. Trade, let's see. 3, it says you may trade 2 science for 1 gold. I think I want to do that one because I want to be able to do what I want to do. And that one was what? It was, let's see, 3? Yeah. So I'll spend these 3 that I have. I gained these from going out here and conquering, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. All right. And then I am good. And these cards come out and they shift out, but I don't want to go through, like I said, all the mechanics over here. So basically, these cards are used. I've got kind of a sloppy situation over here. But these will all go away. Okay, and these will all go away. 1 column, 1 row. Okay, and then I would see my deck again. And like I said, the cards that I purchased are coming right back out. Okay, because they go on the top of my deck. So I'm just going to make this 3 by 3. Any knowledge cards that come out. Oh, there you go. So that's a knowledge card coming out. Sorry about that. I was on a tilted angle there. They come out, and I put a card on top of it like that. Okay, does that make sense? So I know what's coming next round. I'm going to go ahead and cut this here and then go to the board and talk about why this board, this map out here is important to show you how it works. Let's say I have 3 or 4 military. I remember I had 3 or 4 military. So I'll show you how that works and what the benefits are when you come off of that. And trigger off this tableau, which I have some pretty awesome stuff. All right, let me cut this. I'll see you in a second. All right, now we are on the actual map. And like I said before, these maps get bigger and more epic as you go along. But I want to talk about the tokens here. You have your 9 warriors that you get. You have 1 explorer, and then you also have your warlord. The warlord has its own special ability that activates when you conquer these tiles or provinces as you go along. You also, by the way, you actually have these kind of free provinces areas which hold up their own fort area, because as you move out, you have to have a troop left or a warrior left, at least 1 warrior or someone left to leave. And as you can see right here, even right here, that means I can leave that there, and that represents basically a foundation for me to keep moving. You can get pretty spread out here. But all these move with 1 military. So let's go ahead and talk about, just show you kind of how some of these things work. Like I said, I'm going to kind of be quick and light on the detail here because I want to make sure we're not going too long. All right, so let's go ahead and go out a little bit more here. And what you have, and I'm going to push you towards where the action is here. Now I have 4 military, so I'm going to show you what that looks like. If I want to conquer a province, I have to pay attention to a couple things. As you can see, this 1 over here, that's going to be just like the general defense for the area. And then I'm going to have a barbarian. A barbarian is worth 2, and I'll show you how that works. I'm going to move in here and conquer this. It's going to take me 3. I have 2 warriors, and then I have my warlord, all right? And he goes in, all right? And he takes over this whole area. When I do, I get this production token, which this can be kept. Unlike the other cards that you produce, this can be kept. So that's important because I can spend that on future turns. And then I also get this token. And these tokens, all of them, 1, 2, or 3, of course, they get more juicy as you go. They're going to have 2 different things. Now, some cultures actually have it where you get both. It just depends. But you only get to choose one of the 2. And remember, these are the basic buildings that just generate the 1 of the 3 general resources. And then gold that gives you any basic resource. So that's really important as you go across the map. Now, that's how they generally work. But you remember, I have Siegfried here, and it says the first time he conquers a province, you gain 2 more military. So each turn gain 2 military. That is clutch. Okay, so basically it's propelling the war, propelling the war. Go out here and kill. Go ahead and destroy. And I also have this power that's already in my. This is a policy. So it says whenever you conquer a province, gain 2 production. So now not only did I get this here, this production, I got 2 production here, and then I got the military, the extra military that comes as well. So there's a lot going on if I play towards my strengths of my culture, okay? So let's go ahead and take a look at some other stuff over here. So I'm going to use my explorer, let's just say. I've used three military. I'm going to use 4. And these guys right here, they can sneak in. They're not causing any trouble. They don't want to hurt nobody, okay? And they sneak in. And they can grab these production tokens, so they're kind of sly. They just kind of slide up in there, all right? So they don't want to hurt nobody. They kind of just get what they need and leave. And that's kind of what they do. They also can get up in here, and instead of fighting for these free markets, these are called free markets, and they're according to how many players are out here, and there's different ones. I have some over here. I'm going to just show you a couple of them. Here, I'm going to bring a couple of them up here. We have a couple. I got Babylon. Yeah, I got a couple here. So we got all these different ones here, and they give a little bit more juicy resources. Remember, these culture tokens are the ones that you need to start unlocking these. Now, there are cards in the deck that help you get the culture tokens you need to unlock these policies, but this is generally where you're going to find them if you get out there and start fighting for those number 2s and 3s and stuff like that. But once you get in there, and you can go in there and conquer them and go up against, you know, higher numbers, and you got to have a lot of military. You got to spread yourself out a little bit. You can get some of this really, really juicy stuff. So that's pretty much the map in a nutshell. Well, let's say, hey, I wanted to move in here. I got to go kind of all full force. I probably should explain this over here too, because as you can tell, mountainous region would be harder to get to, but the benefits are good. You get, let's see, we get that. Let me see over here, honestly, and check. But yeah, you also get to archive a card, which is important, culling your deck, and then also a culture token. That's pretty much it. Now, if you were squaring it off against someone else, you also have your values here. If somebody wanted to attack you, they have to watch out for this as well, because this is part of your defense. Your warriors are part of your defense. Your explorers are just kind of people. They don't really get into the scuffles, but I don't really need to go through character combat. I think this is pretty much a good idea of what goes on here. But basically, it's, you know, they all have different values and they kind of square off against each other. To be honest with you, this game is lighter on the Civ side, so I really like that. It's very inviting to the people who are not big Civ people because of the deck building mechanics. But I'll talk about that in my final thoughts, because I think there's a lot going on here that's really, really easy to digest, and that's why I like this game. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about that and leave it there, but that's the map part for Monumental. All right, party people. All right, party people, final thoughts on Monumental by Funforge Games. This is quite an epic game in a box. The quality of these components already here. I have what's called the classic version, I believe. It is the version that doesn't have the minis in it. But what I have here is just absolutely amazing. I mean, of course, the artwork's in prototype form, and as you see, some of the basic cards didn't have anything on them. That's fine, because what I see in the components I have just look absolutely amazing. They're huge, they're nice and thick, everything's there. But as far as the gameplay, this is what's most important, right? This unique deck building mechanic is probably the bridge that'll bring people to the civilization gaming genre. I wasn't like a big fan of this stuff. I actually sought this out because I thought this was different and unique. So just being able to trigger off, hey, I got more cards to look at. I got 9 cards to look at. 1 row, 1 column makes sense to me, because then I kind of have a strategy of saying I have more options. This is something that was very attractive to me. I also love the fact that when you buy cards and you can put them on top of your deck, it kind of lets you set up your combos mentally, so you know, hey, I know next time I pull these out, I'm going to have this, this, and this. I also love the policy idea. And honestly, overall, this game does a really good thing of triggering happiness. Like I say, oh, I feel like, oh, if I get this card, I get an instant power, and this happens, and this happens. When I go across the board and I start conquering these provinces, it triggers my warlord. This happens, and then this happens, and then my policy triggers too. Like, that's a really good, pleasing feeling to this game, just like a deck builder would be. So it also respects the strategy of a civilization game. Now, it's not as heavy, which is something that I want people to know who are Civ players. The choices are heavier, but they're not necessarily like, this is not a heavy game. It's not that heavy. It's a medium weight game, but it's just not that heavy. It's heavy in strategy because people like to have that tactical kind of like, where do I go on the map? How do I not spread myself out? That's still there. Still some Civ. It just doesn't have that full-on Civilization 6 level of, like multiple things triggering off at once. More so like you're just picking up these tiles and resources and maybe you'll battle over them. I'm cool with that. But overall, I can suggest this just on the fact that if you are looking to get into the civilization genre, I think that that deck building mechanic is a wonderful, comfortable barrier of entry to this genre. And for the people who are big civilization people, this is a good one to go, hey, like I want something that's just a little bit of a step down in weight from like a super heavy GMT type game. I want to just take it down a notch, make it a little bit more inviting for my friends. This would probably be a good example for that kind of game. And that is Monumental in a nutshell. I could go on and on about it, but as you can tell, I've given this kind of a pretty positive preview. Of course, this is in prototype form, so I can't speak for the final game, but I want you to know what to do with your money before the campaign, before you click that button, and hopefully I helped you do that. With that, this is Jeremy from Jambalaya Plays Games from Board Game Revolution, and I want to thank you for your time, party people. Love doing these previews for you, and I hope they were informative. You can like, you can subscribe, and you can ask me questions in the comments below, and hopefully if you have some really juicy questions, I will talk to you all day about them. But until then, thank you for your time, party people. You have a wonderful day. That's Monumental by Funforge Games.